Welcome back to SwitchCorner, and today we're taking a look at Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2 on the Nintendo Switch. It's one I've been excited for, so let's see if it can not only live up to the standard its predecessor set, but can it also build upon that very formula. With that, hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here, join our growing family, and let's get started. So story-wise, you're going to be taking on the role, initially at least, of Zangetsu, a lone swordsman from the east who has a grudge against demonkind and is basically out to take them down. That said though, the lone part of his description doesn't last for too long, as we come across three additional characters. They're Dominique, Robert and Hachi, a dog that, I'll give it away now, actually pilots a mech suit. There's very little to the story, honestly. It's doing little more than basically setting the scene and giving the occasional text box here and there between missions. I doubt anyone's really expecting more, but yeah, it's just adding a tiny bit of context, and that's really enough. It's gameplay after all that we are here for. So gameplay here then, and for those new to the series, which I hope is very few of you, this is essentially Castlevania. For those of you that played the first game, we're getting more of the same. Starting initially with just Zangetsu at our command, we'll be exploring 8 levels, all with their own unique boss fight attached. Quickly though, I will say we'll see the additional 3 characters come into play, with skill sets that you'll need to definitely, use in conjunction with each other here to succeed. Zangetsu, his attacks are quick and he wields a samurai sword and a ball and chain that attacks vertically. Dominique, she uses a spear and leverages magic for her special. Robert, he's a sniper, so he's good basically with ranged attacks. And then Hachi, our dog, and my favourite personally, he uses an all-powerful mech suit which has the ability to ground slam, go invincible, and even hover and fly for short bursts. This isn't though, simply a case of choosing who your favourite will be and sticking to them for the whole game. Here, the game definitely leverages these skills to basically implement a ton of hidden locations that are only accessible with a character-specific moveset. Dominique, for example, has the ability to bounce on her spear and jump higher, or maybe you'll want to jump your way up with Robert, who can basically wall climb and jump from wall to wall. The exploration here is by far my favourite part of the game, and having the ability to freely switch between characters at any time with the tap of the left or right trigger means it all feels extremely fast paced at the same time. This also means if you die with one character, you'll still have the other 3 to rotate through before it is game over. This is a throwback though for gameplay as is intended, but it also means it may not be for everyone, especially those that don't have past experience with the genre or games at the time. The movement's going to feel slow, the attacks are heavy at least, but difficulty is pretty high as well, and it just doesn't come with the freedom you may be used to. That said, there is also a very deep game in here where skill is key. I just showed this one to someone who didn't grow up around it, and they just didn't quite get it. They couldn't understand why they couldn't jump forward or backwards from a stationary period, finding they only basically jump up. To me, that is charm and the intention. To them, it was just kind of weird. As with the original then, it's not the longest of games either. My first run of this took me about 90 minutes, but there is a lot of reasons to go back. First, you will now actually start with your second playthrough with all characters, meaning there's going to be a lot of unaccessible areas you can now, reach and explore. With each run then too, you can expect to see some variations in the gameplay. There's also then 2 difficulty options which basically translate to easy and hard. Easy, it lowers enemy damage while also removing what is like a stagger effect. Basically means when your character gets hit, you feel it, it stops you in your tracks and it pushes you back. Then the hard mode, you guessed it, this now bumps up that damage and that pushback will return. The final big unlock, the ability to get the cast of the original Curse of the Moon as playable characters. Easy though for game modes really is just that, so you may want to go straight in at hard, because I did find on the easy playthrough bosses are extremely simple to exploit, just down to that reduced damage. I could just basically stand there and slash away. Problems, honestly, I have very few, but it is very much, more of the same. If you like the first game, you'll like this. It's nearly identical in a lot of ways. To be honest, if anything, I would have just loved to have seen them get a little bit more, experimental, but I'm still in no way disappointed. The gameplay's tight, the challenge is here, and it gives me more than enough reasons to keep going back and trying to perfect that run, which to me, for a game it's trying to emulate, is a sign of it doing a good job. So graphically speaking then, it's the 8-bit graphics you know from the first game. Characters here are defined by their own bold colour of sorts, and it's a style I actually really like. So let's take Zangetsu for example. He's like this big bold red, and I think it looks fantastic. With a nice selection of animations for each character though, there's always something interesting to see, whether it's the ball and chain vertical attack to Robert's Ninja Gaiden style of wall jumping. Probably my favourite though, it's got to be Hachi and his mech. It takes up a whole lot more screen space than any other character, giving them a chance to really show you how much detail they've kind of squeezed into this art style and these 8-bit graphics. The same thing can be said then for the levels, enemies and bosses. Not only do we get a nice variety, but it's all constantly changing, whether it's you're moving from an ice level to a castle to fire locations through to enemies that just constantly switch in and out for new attacks. And then the bosses, they just absolutely are epic and fill the screen. No real complaints from me on graphics outside of, I will say, there was the occasional bit of clipping where I could see my hero of choice wasn't quite connecting with the world and was maybe going through a slight bit. Minor thing, but it's definitely there and you definitely will pick up on it. So last up then, audio, and this will be quick. Come here if you like fast-paced chiptune soundtracks that's got a few moments that will no doubt be stuck in your head for some time to come. Sound effects wise then, some minor attack sounds, hits and pickup effects, and that's really it. It's basic, they are for sure retro though, and they are absolutely in keeping with the influence, so I'm not sure it would be fair to ask for any more. So overall, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2 is best summed up as more of the same. Enjoy Castlevania or the first entry, you're gonna find a lot to like here. Not really into retro or Castlevania or Bloodstained? This will not change your mind, that is for sure. With some fun combat moments though, some challenging platforming, a ramping difficulty, and then reasons of course to go back, I think it's fair to say there's a lot to like. There's just not really any sort of example of growth here, but more minor fine tuning. For me though, I've got to be honest, that's fine. I know I'll be revisiting this one for a long time to come because I just can't deny the addictive nature of the gameplay. It is, in summary, a worthy sequel to the first game that embodies the idea of, if it's not broken, then yeah, don't fix it. Today, I'm going to be giving Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2 a great 8 out of 10. I was so close to a 9, but I just don't feel like it captured that same feeling the first one did when I first jumped into it, and I was hoping this would add just a little bit more just to spike my excitement. Thanks for watching though, hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.